Hi, I'm Liza Rubel. I'm a senior at Framingham High School. I'm co-president of the Environmental Awareness Club, and I'm hoping to help educate Framingham about some climate issues by showing you this art gallery. So this is our flooding portion of the exhibit, and we were kind of inspired to do this part because we were inspired by the flooding on Route 9 in Framingham. It's a very local issue. That's why you can kind of see the car. Some road signs, that's kind of the homage to the Framingham flooding issue specifically, but this is really a climate issue because as global temperatures get higher, as the earth warms, oceans also warm, and storms are fueled by warm water. So that's kind of why we have this the water projection and the storm clouds, and there's some thunder sounds going, kind of showing how this is a climate change connection. As the earth warms, storms get stronger, and we end up with more issues like flooding. We also have some interesting flooding facts on the back wall here. My favorite fact, it's a scary fact, but it's one I kind of didn't know about before, is that just 6 inches of rapidly flowing water can knock an adult off of their feet, which I found very surprising. And that's kind of what we're trying to demonstrate here, is the power of flooding to knock over and break lots of possessions and nature, and really disrupt life in our ecosystems in Framingham and everywhere. So over here we have our invasive aquatic plants. So these big pink and purple flowers above me are the water hyacinth, and although it looks very pretty, this is actually an invasive plant in Framingham in Massachusetts, and it was originally brought here because of its looks. It was brought as an ornamental plant, but now it has become invasive. And as you can see, with all these vines and everything, it really chokes out waterways, and it deprives native plants of nutrients and of sunlight, so it's very harmful to local ecosystems. And then over in the tank, we have a different invasive aquatic plant. This one is the water chestnut. It was originally brought from Asia as to be farmed because people eat the water chestnut. But it has also become invasive, and like the water hyacinth, it can choke out waterways and harm native plants and native animals. And as the climate warms and as water gets warmer, kind of same with the flooding, it has a negative effect on local ecosystems, so it can allow these invasive plants to grow more. It can make it a more optimal habitat for the invasive plants and a less optimal habitat for the native plants. So over here we have our cowbird and wood thrush part of the exhibit. So this nest, this is a wood thrush nest, and wood thrush are native songbirds. They're native to Framingham and to Massachusetts. But this gray bird over here that's a little different from the other ones, this is a cowbird. And these are all hatchlings, but what happens is the cowbird, which is an invasive bird, lays its eggs in the wood thrush nest. That's like this gray egg, which is different from the blue wood thrush eggs. And the cowbird is parasitic to the wood thrush, so the wood thrush mother doesn't know that the cowbird eggs are different from her own, and she raises this cowbird hatchling as her own, which is bad for the wood thrush young because they're deprived of nutrients and attention from their mother. And this increases as people cut down forests and fragment forests into smaller and smaller pieces. It's easier for the cowbird to access these wood thrush nests and to lay their eggs in the nest and have this parasitic relationship. So we, as humans developing forest areas, are making this happen more frequently. And on this graph behind me, this is about vulnerable birds in Middlesex County in general. And we can see the trend that not only is habitat fragmentation and other human effects bad for songbirds, but also global warming is negatively affecting our songbird populations in Middlesex County. We can see that the highly vulnerable category, which starts out very low at 1.5 degrees of warming, which is about where we are right now, increases at 2 degrees of warming, and again increases for 3 degrees of warming. So if we reach these warming points, it could have very bad consequences for the birds that live around here. So over here we have our only non-local issue, which is coral reefs and coral bleaching. So here are some beautiful models of coral which were made by ceramics students, and as you can see, some of these are colorful and vibrant, and some of these corals are bleached. And if we go over here to our kind of second part of the coral reef exhibit, it shows a little bit of why these corals are bleached. So we have these thermometers, and this one says 84.2 degrees Fahrenheit. This one over here is at 87.8 degrees Fahrenheit, and this one is at 89.6 degrees Fahrenheit. And what that is showing is that as ocean temperatures increase, coral bleaching occurs. You can see the coral goes from very vibrant over here to bleached over here, and coral bleaching is when the coral expel the symbiotic algae that live in them. And these symbiotic algae allow the coral to live and have their color. When the coral are stressed because of warmer ocean temperatures, they expel the water, and that causes the coral to ultimately die and be bleached white, like you can see on that end. And as you can see, there are many more kind of ocean creatures over here where the coral is alive and very few over where the coral is dead. Coral are a very important habitat in the ocean, and they often serve as a nursery for many different ocean creatures. They really support that ecosystem. So when coral reefs bleach and die, it has negative effects not only for the coral itself, but for the whole ocean ecosystem that it is supporting. So a few things that you can do to help. I'll go through kind of a few of my favorites on this wall of 10 things. The first is eat less meat and eat less dairy. Both meat and dairy, especially beef, have a huge carbon footprint because cows release a lot of methane into the environment, and a lot of greenhouse gases are used to transport these products to the supermarket where you're buying them from. Overall, if you can even go one day without eating meat a week, that can have a positive climate impact. Another one is to compost and to not waste food. If it's at all possible for you to compost either just at your house or through a program in your town or wherever you live, that is a very good thing you can do for the climate. And also just trying to reduce food waste in general is good for the climate as well. Walking, biking, and using public transport when possible. Cars have a very large carbon footprint. They release a lot of greenhouse gases when you drive them. They contribute to global warming. So at any times when you can avoid driving a car by walking or biking, taking a bus or a train or anything like that, that will also help. Buying fewer new clothes is one I like to talk to people about, because some people kind of don't realize that the impact that this has. But new clothes, not only when you buy new clothes, you then get rid of older clothes, which you maybe haven't worn for that long, which generates a lot of waste, but also the manufacturing of clothes creates a lot of greenhouse gas emissions, and the transportation of clothes. That's kind of the biggest component there. Most of your clothes are probably not made in America, and when they're transported to you, that creates a lot of emissions, and it has very negative effects on the climate. So if you can buy fewer new clothes, if you can buy used clothes, or just keep the clothes that you have, that will make a difference. Another thing that I'm kind of doing right now, and I like to tell people to do, is educate yourself and others. So now that you know this information, or if you already knew it, spread the word, tell people about it. Education is so important so that we can collectively make a difference, because we need lots of people to buy into this, not just a small portion of the community. So educate and spread the word about it.